Mr. Sandeep Reddy is also helping in terms of the buzz as well around the film.
I responded, so that's out there. I guess if people have seen it, then hopefully now they know who I am and that I have a film coming on the 1st of March.
Man to man baat honi chahiye and all that stuff. But I think there is like time to launch yourself as an actress as well.
I've been telling people, Faridoon, give me a good role. I'm very happy to act.
How do you remain so calm and composed?
Aamir and I have been married for 17, 18 years. So being in the public eye for so long, it was quite new. And in the beginning, I would get quite perplexed and quite defensive and upset with certain allegations.
Separations, they have to be ugly, and because it's something I think it gets broken that people can still be genuinely good friends.
We didn't have any acrimonious kind of, falling out or big fights or anything. We wanted to change the definition of our relationship. We didn't want to be married. We wanted to remain family but not be married. This just happens to be unusual for most people, that two divorced people want to work together, continue to live in the same building, have meals very often together. Our families are still close. We are still, really, really close.
I think he is delicious his role is delicious in it. And one would want to imagine how Aamir would have been there.
I mean, you've seen the film, so you know how Aamir could have tipped it in another direction, whereas Ravi kind of is so believable and so keeps you guessing, till the end, which I think Aamir's stardom would have, kind of set a different tone for your expectations.
Something about the casting process.
Aamir supported me greatly in the idea that we should go with fresh casting.
Aamir is starting Lahore today.
I'll always be emotionally very connected to AKP, and if they're starting today, then I really have my fingers crossed for them. That's a very exciting and lovely story. Hi, this is Kiran Rao. You're watching Connect Cine with Faridoon. Stay connected.
Kiran, welcome on Connect Cine. कैसी हैं आप?
बस ठीक हूँ. Long time no see.
Long time no see, and I've seen the film Laapata release, and I absolutely loved it. मैं आपको बहुत ही honest मैं आपको feedback देना चाहूँगा. So I really like Ravi Kishan.
Yeah.
Because I think I don't have any preferences as far as movies are concerned. I like all sorts of films. There are a lot of silences, there are a lot of nuances, subtext that you have to literally get used to it. What I really liked about Laapata Lady is that it is consistently entertaining. It makes you laugh. It entertains you. It's not preachy, even though it's talking about I think very, very pertinent women issues, but it's not preachy at any point of time. Was it a conscious decision in your part to make sure that it is entertaining?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, when we got the original script, the story, which was then called Two Brides, was written by a writer called Bipin Goswami. And the genre was kind of drama. It was more serious. The issues were a little more on the forefront. And the characters didn't have anything to hide. It was all very straight up. And when I read that, I kind of felt like I really do want to tell this story and touch upon all these issues, but I want to do it in a way that is thoroughly entertaining and leaves you laughing and crying rather than, feeling like you've gone away with a lecture. तो कोशिश तो यही थी कि we'll make it like, a fun journey, and उसमें we'll अपनी बातें कह देंगे. So we had it rewritten into this kind of comedy drama genre by Sneha Desai.
No, I think fabulous writing, and it is consistently entertaining. और बहुत कुछ कहा है आपने. Important बात ये है कि सचल तरीके से है, which is I think always a good idea as well. Now, I think recent time में I think हम सब लोग बहुत ही thrilled हुए हैं because of the success of 12th Fail. And I think एक जो perception बन गया था कि बड़ी फिल्में ही cinema hall के लिए हैं, छोटी फिल्में relatively what is called like smaller films. Budget-wise, they're more meant for OTT, but I think 12th Fail has completely changed the perception. Very recently बात हुई थी कोमल नाटा साहब से, और कोमल नाटा साहब ने मुझसे बात कही कि actually felt that 12th Fail was a 100 crore film box office wise, and शायद थोड़ा सा promotion में उन्होंने कुछ कमी करी, and अगर promotion में awareness create करा होता तो और ज़्यादा पिक्चर अच्छे तरीके से करती. पिक्चर आने के बाद में word of mouth से चली. मुझे खुशी इस चीज़ की है कि आप लोगों के प्रमोशंस जो हैं काफ़ी अच्छे आपके जा रहे हैं, एंड
Thank
द
you.
अवेयरनेस इज गेटिंग क्रिएटेड क्वाइट नाइसली. Are you looking forward for a good box office run?
जी, आई एम रियली होपफुल. 12th फ़िल्म ने हम सबको बहुत, हमारे उम्मीद बहुत ऊपर हो गए 12th स्केल की कामयाबी देखकर. क्योंकि जब स्टार कास्ट आपकी नहीं हो, तो फिर मुश्किल हो जाता है थोड़ा प्रमोशंस लोगों तक पहुंचने के लिए. तो इसीलिए हमने सोचा कि हमें फ़िल्म में बहुत कॉन्फिडेंस है, हम फ़िल्म दिखाकर वर्ड ऑफ माउथ पहले ही शुरू कर दें, ताकि जिन्होंने देखी है, अगर वो लोगों को कहें कि भई फ़िल्म अच्छी है, आप ज़रूर देखना, तो हमारे लिए बहुत अच्छा हो जाएगा. पर प्रमोशंस जारी हैं. आई मीन इट्स रियली इम्पोर्टेंट आज के दौर में, जब इतनी सारी चीज़ें लोगों के ज़हन में हर वक़्त रहती हैं और इतनी चीज़ें हर वक़्त आ रही हैं ओटीटी पर, सिनेमाज़ में, आपके कंटेंट के वो फ़ीड में, तो हर हर दिन कुछ नया आता रहता है. तो इस दौर में आना मुश्किल सी बात है. तो पहली मार्च सबको याद दिला के शायद हम लोग कामयाब हो सकते हैं. आई एम रियली होपफुल बिकॉज़ आई फील ऑडियंसेस स्टार्स सिर्फ स्टार्स के लिए नहीं आते.
बिल्कुल.
ऑडियंसेस ट्रेलर देखकर उनको जब कहानी पसंद होती है, तब वो आते हैं, क्योंकि एक एफर्ट होता है ना, एक आपको आना, सिनेमा में पैसे देना है, बुक करना, पूरी फैमिली को ले जाना, एक एफर्ट से ही हो जाती है. तो वो तब करते हैं जब आप उनको लगता है कि कहानी हमारे लिए इंटरेस्टिंग है. तो आई डू होप दैट पीपल फाइंड द स्टोरी इंटरेस्टिंग इनफ टू कम, यू नो.
Right, I'm pretty sure that I think they will.
आई
I
होप सो.
definitely feel that they will. So, in terms of release strategy, what is the sort of release that you guys are looking at in terms of how many screens in India, for example?
Currently, I think it's between 400 and 500 screens in India, uh, which is covering mostly tier 1 and tier 2 cities. We're trying to go as wide in terms of the number of cities, and maybe a few screens in each city. So that's kind of the footprint right now.
And if the demand is there, then the screens
Then we
improve,
want to go up,
increase.
yeah. So we're starting
You
with this, and जैसे आपको पता है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन देखती रहती है कि कैसे आप जो डिमांड आ रहा है सिनेमा हॉल से या ऑडियंसेस से, जो रिस्पॉन्सेज आ रहे हैं, हमारे एसेट्स जो हम बाहर सॉन्ग्स और ट्रेलर वगैरह डाल रहे हैं, उससे अगर डिमांड बढ़ता है तो ज़रूर हम बढ़ाएंगे. और फिलहाल 500 तक प्लानिंग की है हमने इंडिया में.
and what about overseas?
Overseas, currently, actually, the plan is not final, but we're going to primary diaspora markets. Actual numbers अभी तक फिक्स हुए नहीं है. वहाँ भी जैसे एसेट्स बाहर आए, बिकॉज अभी हमारा ट्रेलर को निकले कुछ दो हफ्ते हो गए शायद, 2 हफ्ते से ज़्यादा. तो अभी
Right.
डिमांड शुरू हुआ है, क्योंकि एक्चुअली फिल्म जनवरी में आने वाली थी और शिफ्ट हो गई. तो आई थिंक we are having now to fix our full calendar and spread.
Right. And I think Mr. Sandeep Reddy is also helping in terms of
Music.
the buzz as well around the film. A lot of people are getting to know about the
Well,
film through him.
yeah, I did feel like I had to respond, and I responded. So that's out there. I guess if people have seen it, then hopefully now they know who I am, and that I have a film coming on the 1st of March.
बट किरण, मैं आपसे बताऊं ऑनेस्टली, वो जिस तरीके का आपका रिस्पॉन्स था कि मैन टू मैन बात होनी चाहिए एंड ऑल दैट, मतलब आई थिंक देयर इज लाइक टाइम टू लॉन्च योरसेल्फ एज एन एक्ट्रेस एज वेल. वो मोमेंट था.
I've been telling people, Faridoon, give me a good role. I'm very happy to act. In college, I did a lot of acting actually, and that's one of the reasons I was drawn to film, because actually it's all the allied arts that I was always interested in, like music, performance, colors, and set design, things like that. So मैं काफी दूसरे साइड से फिल्म में आई. I used to act in college. काफी म्यूजिक सुनना बजाना भी इंटरेस्ट था. तो जब मैं जामिया में फिल्म पढ़ी, तो मुझे लगा कि आई कैन क्रिएट दिस स्टोरी. तो इसलिए एक्टिंग में गई नहीं है. ऑल्सो इन माय टाइम मुझ जैसे लगने वाले लोग एक्टिंग में जाते नहीं थे. कैरेक्टर रोल्स का जो एक वो था, वो उसमें आपकी जिंदगी नहीं मतलब गुजर नहीं होती थी उसमें. So it was not a time to think about acting really when I first came to Bombay and started working. But yeah, if there's a good role, I'm more than happy to act. In fact, theatre and
Yeah. Hands but I think honestly speaking, I think it's not really about the looks. Like say Irfan Bhai, Om Puri Sahab, many
hey,
times people had set certain, I think initially, especially when they started. So I think it's not about, and I think you're literally glowing right now. I think I've been
yo,
seeing your interviews,
thank you.
and you're literally glowing. So I think it's
Thank you. But
time
you know,
to,
but
I
it's
think,
different for women. Women, there's always in the past. I mean, now it's actually quite it's slowly changing. But the perception कि औरतों को कैसा लगना चाहिए, वो एक तरह से पहले से था कि लंबे स्ट्रेट बाल होने चाहिए. एक तरह से चश्मे वाले आप कैसे डालेंगे फिल्मों में चश्मे. ऑफ कोर्स रोल के हिसाब से तो मैं उतार ही सकती हूँ, पर एक तरह से एक परफेक्ट वुमन का जो परसेप्शन था, एंड हेरोइन्स वर एक्सपेक्टेड इन दैट वे टू बी इन दैट मोल्ड. तो अभी काफी चेंजेस एज अ रिजल्ट लकीली आ गए हैं, एंड नाउ वी आर यूज्ड टू सीइंग ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ वुमेन ऑन स्क्रीन, एंड वी नीड टू सी ऑल काइंड्स, एंड मेनी मेनी मोर.
of course, देखिए, I think this is something that I've always observed, and even during interactions, that you conduct yourself in a very dignified manner. In terms of even by answering anything whatsoever, you make sure that that element of decency and dignity should not be transgressed by any provocation whatsoever. How do you remain so calm and composed?
Um, I guess, you need at some, I've been through all kinds of situations in the past. I don't know, Amir and I have been married, were married for 17, 18 years. So being in the public eye for so long, it was quite new. And in the beginning, I would get quite perplexed and quite defensive and upset with certain allegations, people saying that, one thing or the other to me for whatever reason, there would be things that could be hurtful. And I guess my instinct was always to defend myself. But slowly I realized that, it becomes what ends up happening is it becomes an ugly kind of back and forth. When actually, if you're secure in why you did what you did or said what you said, beyond that, you don't need to justify yourself. If you're in some ways innocent in your own eyes, then you can be calm, really. If you feel like you've not done anything wrong, or you haven't caused anybody harm or hurt, then you should take comfort in that. And I think that's what makes me feel relaxed, is because I've never, intentionally ever tried to, slur anyone or hurt anyone or, take anyone down. And I suppose that's why I kind of don't feel the need to get stressed. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think even the way you guys continue to be partners, and in terms of this entire notion that the separations they have to be ugly and bitter is something I think it gets broken, that people can still be genuinely good friends and can still be part of each other's lives and just move on, which is fantastic actually.
I know it came sort of naturally to us, honestly, because we started off working together, of course. And once we became partners, we continued to work together. We understand each other in a way, I suppose, that goes beyond just the marital relationship. We creatively are very close. We both really believe, similarly on many issues. We have the same beliefs. And honest, we've had a lot very sort of familial, honest relationship, and I think that's something that you can't erase, and you don't want to, because that's the basis for our relationship. And I find it we didn't have any acrimonious kind of falling out or big fights or anything. We wanted to change the definition of our relationship. We didn't want to be married. We wanted to remain family but not be married. So I suppose we just made our own rules. Because I don't think relationships necessarily can be, given a social tag in some way. You have to, all our relationships we define pretty much ourselves. And this just happens to be unusual for most people, that two divorced people want to work together, continue to live in the same building, have meals very often together. Our families are still close. I feel like I wanted that. I would not have been happy if the dissolution of our marriage had resulted in the end of our relationship. Neither of us would have been happy with that. We are still, really, really close. And I don't think we would want the marriage to define that.
No, that's amazing, actually. In fact, for Bodyguard, I interviewed both of you together, and you were telling me that how keen Aamir was for a bigger role, and you had to do what you had to do, and even for Laapata we auditioned, and then I think Ravi Kishan is fantastic casting. I think he is delicious his role is delicious simply, and one would want to imagine how Aamir would have been there. But I think I saw your reasons for that, and I think very valid reasons, because I think somehow Amir's superstardom also takes over, and I think Ravi has added, I think, a beautiful layer of his own. What a character!
Yeah. I mean, you've seen the film, so you know how Amir could have tipped it in another direction, whereas Ravi kind of is so believable and so keeps you guessing, till the end, which I think Amir's stardom would have, kind of set a different tone for your expectations.
No, absolutely. I think Ravi is amazing. जो आखिर में जो end credits में जो sketches हैं,
Yeah.
moments हैं, I think people will carve out those moments as well. The shop,
Oh, I'm so
the
glad to
small
hear you
piece
say
shop,
that. Yeah.
the small thing shop, and and everyone, they have their own struggles, and the lady, she had her own bitter experiences, and yet she is positive in her own way. So I think those are beautiful moments. The Jay's character, I think, is outstanding, and what a performer. All of the actors, I think they're very, very good. I think they're real stars in their own right. Something about the casting process and those nuances, those beautiful nuances that audience is surely going to carry with them.
No, Amir supported me greatly in the idea that we should go with fresh casting, that not stars and not known faces, because I knew that there was a certain, we had to make this highly believable. It's a satire. It starts with such an unusual, kind of unbelievable almost idea that two women can just get swapped and go all the way home with somebody else. But to make it believable, we needed, two characters who could really fit into 2001 rural India, and in some way embody Phoola and Pushpa, the two very different kinds of, girls from the same milieu. But in casting, also what we were looking at was performers who could, one, of course, the dialect of Bhojpuri Hindi, but also have that ability to, this is situational humor. The humor comes because of situation, and also because in some way, because Bhojpuri as a language has this beautiful, kind of humor laced into it. But we needed people who could pitch it at the right level, so that even if you're just saying your dialogue, it's actually really funny. So to match each other in tonally and in pitch when it comes to comedy, I think is the most important, because somebody could overdo it, or somebody could be just too deadpan. So casting way, that was a challenge. Like we were looking for completely interesting faces who you look at and you immediately accept that they're from there and they fit perfectly. But also they're able and have that range of performance where they're able to give you, where I'm feeling really bad for this guy, but at the same time you're laughing at the situation. You can see that he's devastated by losing his wife, but you also are laughing because the situation demands it. So that playing that role that way needs a particular finesse in performance, which I think all my young actors really brought to the table. Of course, we had lots of, very well-known and, experienced actors like Chaya Kadam and Geeta Agarwal, and of course Ravi Kishan. But these three youngsters really to take the film away, with them.
And absolutely, Pratibha Ranta, she plays Jaya, Sparsh Srivastava plays Deepak, Nitashi Goyal plays Phool.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be stars. I think they are going to be stars for
I
sure.
really, really, really hope so. They deserve it more than anything, honestly. They're very, very talented. They worked exceedingly hard. And honestly, they are all, they come from completely, Sparsh is from Agra, Nitanshi is from Delhi, Pratibha is from Himachal, from Shimla. In fact, Pratibha's story very closely resembles her character's story. She fought to come to Mumbai to join the film industry. And in some ways, almost, so these are all people from like all over India, that are in this film. And I feel really hopeful that our industry is going to have a lot of fresh blood the second we start, you know, pulling in people from everywhere. In fact, a lot of my actors are from the region in which we were shooting. Deepak's
I saw
friends
that on
are
the
from
clip.
Sihor, Jabalpur. Lots of my cast are actually from Deepak's father lives in Agra. Geeta Agarwal, of course, is now in Mumbai. But so I think that diversity we need in our industry, people who bring their experiences of having grown up in other parts of India and, honestly, bring a kind of a different, fresh sort of vibe and feel to the characters that they play.
No, absolutely. And I think both Pratibha and Nitashi, the good part about both of them that they're looking like villagers. They look like villagers. And gradually, as the film progresses, you start, even in terms of their entire appearances, as the character develops further, and you start respecting the integrity and that both of them they possess, and they start even looking very attractive in their own way, the eyes and the entire persona. And that is what I think is far more charming than external beauty that you may have for immediate attention and attraction. But something like this, if it can grow you, I think it's always a beautiful idea.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm so glad you said that. It's they both and Pool, for instance, we wanted her to be really innocent, very kind of sheltered. And so both of them were, especially she more than Pratibha's character. We, were like, you should not, do your eyebrows and all the things that you would do if you lived in a city. She looks like a girl like who has really not been exposed to city life or what girls should look like, etc. And very simple in that way. And Pratibha's character needs to be slightly wily, slightly clever, slightly more exposed. So, both of them embodied that in both their performance and in the way they did, they were very happy and open to the fact that, I mean, Nitanshi, that she didn't have any makeup. She would not, she did not require
Yeah,
makeup, and we didn't want her to look, kind of very glamorous or cool. And all these kids were very happy with that. They were happy to not be, have this glamorous song and dance sequence in the film. They really, they were incredible amount of self possession and understanding of the role. That comes through actually when you see them. Like that's why you see that arc for each of these characters. And like you said, you feel like towards the end of the film, not just do they believe them, but you feel like they've become perhaps even more attractive
no,
in a
absolutely. They have actually, even in the literal sense as well, for sure. And interestingly, so Jaya, for example, is progressive right from the beginning, but the process of Pool becoming progressive through the course of the film, I think that is very I think inspiring as well. One very fascinating aspect about this film is that you are someone who's from, um, say, basically from South India. You're more comfortable in, say, English, for example. That comes naturally to you. The entire milieu comes naturally to you, and you choosing this entire Bhojpuri element, and it is done so beautifully and so brilliantly. And it is not your comfort zone. Many a time you see filmmakers, they tend to meander around their own comfort zones, but to break away from your comfort zone and to do it successfully, I think that is something which is challenging. Um, was it a bit of a moment for you that whether you'll be able to pull it off or not?
Honestly, when I heard the story, I saw it as like this incredible opportunity that had been thrown at me, because I could never have written a story like this. You're absolutely right. The milieu I come from, my upbringing, I'm not from rural India. There are certain kinds of films that I respond to much more naturally, and I would like to perhaps be making. This isn't the story that I would have written. And the way that Biplav had written it originally, when I heard it, I knew I wanted to do something with it, but I knew that this is a story that is absolutely, outside my comfort zone in some ways. At the same time, I was like very excited by the challenge of it because I felt like I could make it into a comedy. I could say lots of things, but still keep it into a really fun roller coaster ride for the audience. I studied film and mass communication research center. So the idea really has always been I want to make something speak to a broader audience in that sense. And this was giving me the opportunity to do it in my own way. I felt like I could make a film that could potentially speak to everyone, but it didn't need to be dumbed down or done in a way that I felt was very cliched, So I wanted I was actually very excited by this challenge. And you're right, it was completely not something that naturally you would have expected me to do. Having said that, I enjoyed it so much because I realized that actually as people, we are all pretty much the same, We could be from city or villages or any part of the world, but we all respond to emotions. We all respond to similar stories. We all have experiences sometimes that are very similar despite our backgrounds. So it when you're making a film for a mass, you go to what is kind of quite basic for us as human beings, and in some way it what makes us human. So I relied on that part of me. And honestly, the idea of doing comedy is something that I've always been, kind of been excited by. So this kind of ticked all my boxes. And I jumped in. I was really lucky that Aamir was, kind of generous enough to trust me with it. Because he said, rewrite it the way you want. So really taking Biplav's story and then working with Sneha was the hard part because that's where we kind of made the film. And then after that, it was much more fun once we had the script.
You're saying that Amir was generous enough to support the film, but the fact is that, in almost last 1.5 decades, a lot of the film choices that Amir has made, there's a clear imprint of you in that, be it Talash and several other films. It's clearly that you've been instrumental in his broadening of horizon as well as an actor and as a filmmaker. So it's both ways.
I guess he has taken my opinion on many counts, and he's I suppose since we do think similarly on so many levels, we perhaps I've also been able to influence him. But honestly, he's always been the kind of person who does what really that he things that he likes, and he's drawn to certain subjects, and I do think that he values my opinion quite a lot, and it's nice to hear that you feel like it's my imprint. But I do think he's pretty, he's very clear about what he wants to do and how he wants to do it.
No, I'm sure, but I think, a lot of things, this Satyamev Jayate and a lot of other things. And he has said this, I think publicly as well. He has acknowledged how he came in terms of to know certain sort of cinema because of getting acquainted with you. So I think it's both ways from what I understand. And I've been following you guys for quite some time. And I think it's important that we be honest about it. Now, one more aspect, you're saying about getting the nuance right as far as the language is concerned. Now, as a director, a lot of things you may not be aware of as far as the entire the culture, the way the women wear clothes, the way they perform, the way they behave. But I think ultimately you may be having like a screenplay writer, dialogue writer, a lot of other coaches to guide you. But I think it's the job of the director to make sure that nothing superfluous goes in the film. This can be, people can say that this is not the culture. This is not what it's all about. And many a times we see certain films where they romanticize India's poverty, because
Right.
it sends in a way abroad. But here, even if they are not that well off, but they come across as happy people, and they're not like really sad in that regard. They are quite contented in their own ways. But to have that balance, and to ensure that nothing superfluous is going as far as the context of that place is concerned, that is commendable as well. I think that is something that would be credited to you as a director.
Thank you. But hugely, I have to credit Pani Foundation for this because we work on the ground in
I
Maharashtra
thought so. I was thinking about it.
Pani on watershed management as well as agriculture, and it gave me the opportunity to travel quite widely in villages, and that's something that completely changed my perspective. We started well before I read the script, but you're absolutely right. Our impression of a village is always like it's very dusty, poor, depressed. Things aren't happening, and honestly, I've met some of the most warm, generous, alive people. People who are also alive to ideas, who are ready for change, who are willing to learn. As a result of traveling in villages. So I think it's quite a it's something that I hope as a result of this film people will see is that um, a large mass of our country lives in villages. They are full of people with talent, people with ideas, people who want opportunities, and actually, with some amount of space and opportunity, can do a lot of things. And honestly, the kind of, like you said, positivity, the kind of optimism some of them have in the circumstances that they live in just changed my perspective on life. I will be really honest. Really had a very deep impression on me and made me feel like how we constantly are cynical about the world and things that are going on. And here are people who, on a daily basis, have faced innumerable challenges, which we just will never know because we have running water and electricity and roads and entertainment and infrastructure of all kinds. But they continue to have a certain generosity of spirit that I think maybe comes to them because they go through so much in their lives, and they are in some ways much more generous and kind and warm than many people who have everything are. So I've been, I guess, hugely fortunate in my life and, lived in a city all my life. But I've had the experience of villages I, of course, had, like you said, a very good team to help me make it exceedingly authentic. But I'll tell you a funny side story is that initially we didn't have a place. We used to say central India when when the film was written. We were like, where should we place it? Because we don't want it to be too specific, you know. So I had this idea of creating another state in India called Nirmal Pradesh, in which this
Right.
village and this story takes place. And that what that did for me was not just to sort of take away from the film being specifically in one state or the other, or one culture or the other, but would also give me the advantage in some way of universalizing what I'm saying, because it really can be, this story could have happened anywhere to any two girls, and it's really about their journeys. So you don't get caught up in the fact that is this Bihar, is this Rajasthan, is it यहाँ ये होता है या नहीं होता है, ये प्रथा यहाँ हमारे यहाँ नहीं होता है. But it kind of it makes the conversation broader. So yeah, so we created a Nirmal Pradesh where if you say हमारे यहाँ नहीं होता है, we're like, हाँ, निर्मल प्रदेश में ही होता है ये सब.
No, of course. I think one has to be very careful these days.
Correct.
कौन सी चीज का I think controversy हो जाए, and I think one needs to be careful. So and there's so many funny aspects. In fact, I'm just thinking about कि motorcycle भी मिला है tank full.
हाँ.
तो मैं आपके इंटरव्यू देख रहा हूँ. बहुत बार लोग रियलाइज नहीं करते हैं, लेकिन सर्टेन जो सवाल पूछे जाते हैं, आई थिंक दे कैन बी अ बिट इनसेंसिटिव एट टाइम्स एज वेल. 12 साल के बाद आपकी फिल्म आ रही है, एंड लॉट ऑफ अदर पर्सनल थिंग्स एज वेल. व्हेन आई सॉ द फिल्म, मुझे बहुत से अंडर करेंट्स, मुझे उसमें कुछ ऐसा मुझे भी एहसास हुआ कि a lot of this film is personal for you as well, in terms of of you making a point that that I want to be taken seriously as a filmmaker now, and I've done my part, and this is my journey, this is my calling, and I will follow my own path, and I'll take chances with that. How much of this film is personal for you?
Different question. It is actually, even though it's set in a completely different environment than I've ever known, it actually is very personal to me. I think all the sort of conversations that this film touches upon, all the issues that we sort of bring in the layers of this film, whether it's younger women, older women, the way men are looked at, and what makes for a man, because our hero is a very unlikely male hero, and yet is among my favorite possible male protagonists, because um he's unusually as a man, you never see this kind of a person who's emotional, a man who's caring, as
Right.
bindas about his emotions and feelings as you do in this. So for me, it was very personal because I feel I've experienced all these people in my life. All these characters in some way or the other have played a part in my life. Whether it's Pool's mother-in-law, or Pushpa herself. These are all characters I have met and I know. So, and for me, they stand for something much more than this film does. So it was really important and personal for me to tell this story through all of these characters and represent a very wide variety of people that we have in this country.
Right, and you've started your own production house as well, and you guys are producing, and like you'll be directing more films, and there'll be that shows. So could you please tell us something about it?
Yeah, so I have it's kind of a creative lab called Kindling Pictures. And currently, my producer Kanaji and I are just sort of incubating, developing things. We have a few shows that I've been working on for many years now. We have a couple of two feature scripts that we are developing. So hopefully, something or the other will get greenlit quite soon, and I'll get into my next project. But the idea really is to, and they all are from different genres. We're trying to do everything from period to, kind of whodunits and everything. We have a whole bunch of drama, comedy, everything in this little bag of stories. So yeah, I'm hoping to not take a very big break for the next time round and have
No, no,
something up.
please don't. I think this is. I'm sure that your audience will not let you do that now, because I think it's a beautiful thing, especially when it comes to Indian films, that I think people badly need good entertainment. Um, I think if you can make a person smile, and like towards the end of it, your heart wells up. You have that tear in your eyes, and that's like a happy tear. So I think such films, they really give you a lot of hope. So आपको definitely बहुत जल्द आपको बनाना पड़ेगा. आप चाहें या ना चाहें.
I'm glad.
And I believe Aamir is starting Lahore today,
Is that right? I
10th
didn't know.
February, I believe.
I didn't know it was today. Okay, yeah, possibly because this Aamir Khan Productions, after taking, like we take so long to do anything, suddenly Aamir Khan Productions has like 6 films going on the floor at
6th
different
10th, yeah.
times. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very excited for all the things that Aamir is doing. I've kind of, thanks to this film, not been very much in touch with what's happening, but I'll always be emotionally very connected to AKP. And yeah, if they're starting today, then I really have my fingers crossed for them. That's a very exciting and lovely story, actually.
Right, and Sunny Deol, and Aamir is acting as well in that film.
Not that I know of. No, it's Sunny, and
There's no cameo. Okay.
I don't know if there's a cameo actually. I haven't heard what happened to the final because there's a lot of. It's a big film. There's a big cast, so perhaps Amir is playing a cameo, but I'm not aware of it.
Right, right. And Shamana ji is there as well, I believe.
Yeah.
That should be very interesting.